Have you heard about the Hawthorne Effect? Come. Okay, so welcome to Talk HR with Jasmine. So this is episode 2, and for this I have two of my friends with me. So first we have Aminda. Aminda, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi guys, my name is Aminda and I'm an HR assistant at an audit firm.
Okay, and we have Tiasha with us.
Hi, I'm Tiasha and I'm a law student and I also work for a shipping company.
Okay, so these two are going to be having a small conversation with me, and we're going to be talking about the topic of, do you work harder when you're being watched? So I have very simple questions regarding that. First question is, do you think people work harder when they know they're being watched? Why or why not?
I feel like it depends on, how long you've been working there and how, close you are with your superiors or your boss.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like say if you're like a person who just started working, obviously you will be nervous because you're not used to it and it's all very new to you. You don't know the type of person your boss is, like how strict they are, whatever. But then if you've been working, like if you're familiar with that environment, with that team space which you are in, feel like you don't feel it as
be
much.
more relaxed.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll be.
Have you ever noticed a difference in your own performance when someone is watching you versus when you're not being watched?
Yeah, I feel like so. I just started working, so I'm very new to it.
Yeah.
This is my first job and all that, and I don't get observed per se, but it's more like my superiors. It's a bit closer to me.
Yeah.
So,
or like even when they're just walking by.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
So then I do feel a bit nervous, but other than that, not so much to the point where I feel super pressured.
Yeah. So it was the same with me. When I was teaching in school, we'd have these lesson observations by the sectional head.
Yeah.
So when she comes and she sits behind the class, you deliver like the most perfect lesson with the visual aids and everything.
Oh no, wait, our teachers used to do that as well. Like if the principal walks by, they just start teaching you some random topic exactly that they've already taught you, and
And you're like silently praying the kids like answer, don't mess around and like scream and stuff. Yes, what about you?
So my workspace is mostly online. So because my company is in Netherlands, so I work online. I think they monitor us through like an app. So they have downloaded it on our laptop, so it's mostly getting tracked via the sites. And that app knows where we're going, what we're doing. Yeah, so it's monitored by that, so they can see the number of hours we work and which apps that we use, like that. So then that's where they can check our work that we've been doing for the day.
That seems a bit more hard, right?
Exactly. It's harder than doing a physical because this is like all monitored. Even if they find a mistake, they can easily find it. They're like, okay, let me just go through your.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like when you're normally working, you would like tend to be on other sides and everything. That feels
I feel like that's more tougher.
Yeah, working online and stuff. Like everyone's like trying to like, okay, what is she doing now? Like, what is she doing now?
And they can see what you're doing.
That's
what
the
side
thing,
you're on.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So it's like we can do whatever we can, but the problem is that we have to always inform. Like, I'm going on lunch, like lunch break or like 15 minutes break. Like we always have to inform them, so that's how they know that they are going on a break. Which is actually annoying. So like everyone in the company knows that we are on break, and they're like, okay, when is she coming back? When is she coming back?
So even your supervisors would get to know everything.
Yeah.
Yes. So why do you think people change their behavior when they're being observed? Like, why not do the same thing? Like, why do people change?
I feel like since they are, at the end of the day, employees and they work under a head or like a senior, whoever their boss is, like they feel as if, they need to show what they're capable of and like, because they feel like, okay, like my boss is going to judge me, my boss is going to, measure
it's the
how
job.
much work. Exactly, measure like how I do my work, how good I am and all of that. Like I feel like everybody has that, even our own bosses have that.
So do you think there's any position someone can go to where they're like, okay, I don't care who sees me, I don't care who is gonna like look at what I'm doing? Do you think there's any position like that?
I mean, if you're doing your work, like the thing is it doesn't have to be like strictly work, yeah. So because in school it's mostly strict, like you do what your teacher tells.
Yeah.
But in a workplace, it's not something like that. But now in my scenario, it's different because I am working online. But when you're working in a physical scenario, you don't have to change your behavior. I mean, you do sometimes change your behavior. That means you're doing something wrong. I'm not saying wrong, but something.
You're not supposed to.
Yeah,
do.
I'm not supposed to be doing that.
Okay.
So, but that's when they do change the behavior.
Alright. So follow-up question to that. Do you feel like you're being judged whenever your supervisor is there? Like she's judging you from head to toe, what you're doing, what you're wearing, how you talk, everything?
So if you're, taking this in like a personal experience way, for me, my supervisor is not like that. Like, yes, I've only been working there for a couple of days, but so far she's not like that, and I feel like I see the team, how they work, how they communicate, they laugh around, they make jokes, we listen to music while we work.
Yeah.
They're all very relaxed, comfortable, and they get their work done as well. So I feel like, my supervisor isn't like that. She wouldn't judge per se, and she lets me do my own thing. Like, like one of the senior members of the team, they teach me what to do since this is my first job. I just started. So, she teaches me what to do. And honestly, so far, because I honestly thought that, she'd be like poking and asking, okay, what are you doing now?
Micromanaging you.
Exactly, but it has not been like that. I genuinely feel like I'm being treated equally, even though I just started this week.
Okay.
But I feel like there are workplaces that are people being
For
judged.
sure there are. And I feel like sometimes it really depends on what field you work in.
Yeah, that's so next question. How do you feel about workplace monitoring, like cameras, software tracking? Like, do you feel more productive, or do you feel like you're demotivated, like you're gonna get burned out because of this?
It's productivity. Because you can't say demotivated, because at the end of the day, again, it's a job, right?
Yeah.
We enrolled ourselves to that because we want it, so we can't be demotivated just because of an app. Anyways, if you're busy with work and if you have things to do, you're never gonna get demotivated. I mean, you do have the pressure, you do get tired and everything, but at the end of the day, I think it helps me to be motivated and be productive, because I had couple of months where I first joined and I didn't have the app because I was a beginner. So then I was like, okay, this is easy. I just have to go on my laptop, type whatever I have to do, and then it's done. But when I got the app, I knew how, like, it's not hard, it's just that, you knew how to manage things, like, do it according to a schedule. So that's what I think it's productivity.
So what about you? Do you have any sort of like cameras or anything at office that's like constantly supervising you?
So, like for me, for us, cameras are more for, security measures.
Yeah.
It's mostly like in the lobby outside, because it's not in the space where I work in, because I work in HR.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm with the talent team and we handle a lot of sensitive information. So we have, employee information from, our HR partners to like, even the interns. So, we can't have security cameras in the office, right?
Yeah, it's confidential.
Exactly. So,
if you could choose, would you rather work in a setting where no one is watching you, or where you are being supervised?
I mean, if it's like a weekly basis?
Yeah, like a weekly basis.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be
That
good,
would be
'cause-
fine, not like, staring at you. Being like, let me see what you do.
Yeah, exactly. But like, as Josh said, weekly basis would be good. Because like at the end of the day, like, we might have our own doubts as well, and we might need, guidance at certain times and
Definitely.
yeah.
So you want like check-ins to like ask any doubts or questions from your supervisor like that?
Yeah, again, it really depends on what work you do personally, but I feel like, for me, and as Tiasha said, as well, the work we do, we would like that assistance, we would like that guidance.
Okay, so if you had like a supervisory meeting, was there ever a time where you felt like, okay, like she's micromanaging me, like I'm being pressurized too much? Was there ever a time like that?
You have times like that only if you like have issues. In general, like if the company is going through issues like that, like they would put the entire pressure on you.
Yeah.
But then you would feel like, okay, they are like pressurizing me and they are like making me work so much, like more than my time that I have to work. But at the end of the day, it's all about, one good thing is if they choose you to do that job which is pressurizing, that means you're good at a good point, like in a company. Because there are certain people in the company, they wouldn't be put into that point because they are still in the learning stage. But if they're being put into that specific point, that means you are in a good stage in that company.
Exactly. I feel like, you just need to take it positively, even if they do. I mean, obviously, there are like levels of extreme, like, which you can't handle and it's just too much pressure. Like, I understand. But I feel like, if your superiors do push you, it's because they want you to, be better and like really excel in what you do and like grow.
Yeah.
Because like, what's the point in just being in one place throughout your entire career?
That's
right?
true. There should be some sort of like career ladder.
Exactly. So I feel like, that's the superior's job. They need to push you to reach higher. So I feel like that's what.
So personally, you have always found it like, okay, she's encouraging you to do better than like you're being like micromanaged, like do this, do that.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like, unfortunately that does happen too. In some organizations and companies, where like the superiors are always micromanaged, they're always very picky and
they would
that
pinpoint
does
on your small tiny mistakes.
Exactly.
They would be like, why is this dot not
exactly. No, that does happen. Like, and I feel like that's just very demotivating sometimes.
I know, like you're just gonna burn out at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's when you realize that, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, like,
exactly.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Yeah,
my time.
For sure.
Okay. So on to the last question. What advice would you give to someone who struggles with working under observation?
Like I would tell the person, like, whatever the information or the scoldings or the pressurizing you get, just take it from one ear and put it from the other ear, because it's all about guidance. They're not telling things for you to, it's not for you, it's to grow the company business. So it's nothing to take personally. So it's just to grow the business, to grow whatever you're doing, and to give guidance in whatever the job that you're,
because at the end of the day, it is a professional relationship. So you're never supposed to take it personally.
Like just leave it all at work and just go home.
When you come home, you're like,
yeah.
I need my own time.
I mean, obviously, for Tiasha, she works at home.
Yeah.
But if you do work in like an office, try to always keep your work in your workplace
and not drag it home.
Exactly. And plus, like, whatever advice they give, even if they, scream at you or whatever, like, always try to like take it from a positive way and be like, okay, you know what, they are more experienced than me at the end of the day, so let me try to take something from this. Like, yes, it can be very annoying sometimes, and like, yes, feelings get hurt, that happens, you're a human being, but at the end of the day, you're never supposed to take it personally.
Yeah, just leave it at home.
Exactly.
Sorry, leave it at work. Go home with a fresh mind.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so that's all the questions I have for today. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we like shake hands?
No.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe we can go now. Oh, hi! I didn't see you there. So I hope you had a really nice conversation with me and my friends. And back to the very first question that I asked you. Do you know what the Hawthorne Effect is? Well, for those of you who are still not familiar with it, let me take you through it. The Hawthorne Effect is a psychological phenomenon that suggests that people tend to change their behavior simply because they are being observed or supervised. It was discovered in the 1920s during a study at Western Electric Hawthorne Works in Chicago. And this actually happened by mistake when the researchers were studying how lighting affected productivity. But here's the twist. No matter how they changed the lighting, the workers' productivity tended to increase just because they were being watched. So what do you think this means for the workplace today? I know we've all had moments where we suddenly changed our behavior and started working harder when our supervisors are walking by or when we're being observed. So just like that, the Hawthorne Effect suggests that observation, whether intentional or not, can temporarily boost productivity. However, it's important to note that motivation just from being watched might not last in the long run, as there's always a risk of your employees feeling demotivated, pressurized, or even they might just burn out. At the end of the day, while observation might give a short-term boost, real motivation comes from being valued, trusted, and having a sense of purpose. So instead of watching your employees like hawks and micromanaging them, companies should focus on creating a workplace where they feel comfortable, where they feel motivated even when no one's looking. So the next time you feel like you are being watched, just ask yourself, are you working harder because you're being observed or because there's something deeper that drives your motivation? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so just drop a comment below if you've ever had a time where you started working harder just because you are being watched. I'd love to read what you have to say. So this was episode 2 of Talk HR with Jasmine.